Hello, everyone. Here we are. We're going to do Deuteronomy 13. And Deuteronomy, at least thus far, is Moses giving a sermon before they go to attack and conquer the promised land, okay, that God promised them. So this is what we're hearing. We're hearing a lot of reminders. We ended with the with the mention of the pagan tribes around them, which would be the known world at the time, were sacrificing their children in fire. So for those of you that think that pagans were peace-loving people that just wanted to be left alone, no, I don't know what their, no matter what their relations were with their neighbors, they took their own children and sacrificed them. I can't imagine anything more evil or unloving than that, okay? And as far back as you look in history, you will not find one pagan tribe that did not do that, okay? That includes Wicca. If you look deeply into Wicca, and I don't know when that started or when it came about, but if you look far enough back in it, you will see that they also committed human sacrifice. Okay, I don't know enough about it to expound on it, but I'm telling you that quite assuredly. So when you meet people that say, I'm a Wiccan, you know what they're representing, and probably they don't. And that's what's really sad. And I have told a couple kids on the street that come up to me with pentagrams around their necks, and I say, do you know what that means? You know, they have pagan t-shirts, and I've told them, you're representing baby killing. And that takes a lot of them aback because they're just following the crowd. They really don't know what they're doing or what they're representing. And I think they should know. And they're usually very nice to me and very thankful that I told them. Okay? Because, kids just follow the crowd and oftentimes don't know what they're following. And that's happened to a lot of musicians with the Marxist socialist agenda. When you get into rock and roll, they tell you, screw the man, forget the man, everything's anti. And ultimately at the bottom of that is socialism and Marxism. So it's been permeating for a long time as far as the agenda that we're seeing starting to come forth. It's been we've been being indoctrinated, at least on the fringe groups where they could get in and start indoctrinating, because musicians are interested in singing and playing. We don't care, we're not going to sit there and try to figure out where the ideology comes from, unless you're super into history, and some of us are. And I am more so now. When I turned about 45, I got very into history. But and there's so much to learn. But my point is that the indoctrination to socialism has been going on in the fringe groups, people that would be automatically thought of as anti-establishment and were. That indoctrination has been going on my whole life, okay? So I had to turn probably 38, 39, 40 before I realized I'm not a Democrat at all. Now, I'm really not a Republican either. I believe I'm registered independent. Matter of fact, I know I am. But I'm going to lean more towards conservative values, most definitely, and that would be Republicans today. So anyway, we're not going to get off on that, but this is the sermon that Moses is telling the Jews. He told them, don't get arrogant about getting this land. It's not by your integrity or anything about you that's getting you this land. This is a gift from God to you because he hates these nations because they sacrifice their children. So he's going to allow you to conquer them and drive them out because their sins have risen to heaven and he's through. So he's sending an army against them, and it's the Jews. Okay, so here we go. If a prophet or one who foretells by dreams appears among you and announces to you a sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder spoken of takes place, and the prophet says, let us follow other gods you've not known, in parentheses, and let us worship them, you must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. The Lord your God is testing you to find out whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. So often God will send in people with an antichrist message or spirit. And he's testing you to see where your alliances are lying, okay? It is the Lord your God you must follow, and him you must revere. Keep his commandments and obey him. Serve him and hold fast to him. Because this God doesn't like child sacrifice, does he? Okay, he says, I'll give you your crops. You honor me, and I'll give you your crops. You don't need to be sacrificing children to false gods and, making babies with temple prostitutes for sacrifice. I mean, all of that's just disgusting, and our God does not support any of that. We don't follow a God like that. We follow a good God, okay? Keep his commands and obey him. Serve him and hold fast to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death for inciting rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. That prophet or dreamer tried to turn you from the way the Lord your God commanded you to follow. You must purge the evil from among you. Now remember, this is the Lord getting for himself a holy people, and he's going to do it however he wants to do it. He is God after all, right? He made us, he can destroy us. If your very own brother or your son or daughter or the wife you love or your closest friend secretly entices you saying, let's go and worship other gods, in parentheses, gods that neither you nor your ancestors have known, gods of the peoples around you, whether near or far, from one end of the land to the other, end parenthesis. Do not yield to them or listen to them. Show them no pity. Don't spare them or shield them. You must certainly put them to death. Your hand must be the first in putting them to death, and then the hands of all the people. Now, this is a lot like the Levites having to go and slay friends and family and brothers after the rebellion against the Lord with the golden calf. You have to love the Lord your God. Now, we are not asked to do these kinds of things, okay? This is Old Testament, and this is the way the Lord was doing it, all right? But we can thank God that we're not tested to this degree, okay? We have sweet Jesus in the way now, in the middle, as a mediator between God and us. And, thankfully, we never have to do something like this, okay? But this shows you how God was dealing with human beings, the Jewish ones that he chose, and how he was going to purge the evil out of them and get himself a holy people, because he wanted to be known in the world by these people, and they had to represent him properly. Now, he could just be like any other God and have a sloppy group of people, but he's trying to show the world that he saves, that he is the true God. And he's allowing people to be involved in it, the Jews, okay? So this is terribly important right now, that he has a solid group of believers that will be true to him, okay? Once again, by the grace of God, we're not in these times, okay? But the tests are the same, even though they're not bloody ones. The tests are the same. All kinds of people come into your life and bring in all kinds of thoughts. Are your thoughts going to stay aligned with the Lord and what he said, or are you going to just follow every whim? Okay? If you hear it said about one of the towns the Lord your God is giving you to live in, that troublemakers have arisen among you and have led the people of their town astray, saying, let us go and worship other gods, gods you've not known, then you must inquire, probe, and investigate it thoroughly. And if it's true and it has been proved that this detestable thing has been done among you, you must certainly put to the sword all who live in that town. You must destroy it completely, both its people and its livestock. So once again, even the poor animals have to die for our sin. These are foundational lessons that show us the boundaries of the Lord's personality. Okay, how far he's willing to go to get a holy people and to impress it upon people that he's serious. Because you can't save the world if you're a wishy-washy God mixed in with millions of others that mean nothing, that have all kinds of weird practices. You're not going to save the world that way. And what is God's bottom line goal? He wants to save the entire world. He wants every man to be saved. So he's putting himself together here with these people to prove himself as the true God, okay? I'm glad I'm not part of all this testing. I'm glad I live now, okay? But this is what the Lord's going to do, because it's worth it to kill the evildoers and get rid of them in order to have a people that will affect the entire world, and the Jews have affected the entire world. And if it is true, and it's been proved that this detestable thing has been done among you, you must certainly put to the sword all who live in that town. You must destroy it completely, both its people and its livestock. You're to gather all the plunder of the town into the middle of the public square and completely burn the town and all its plunder as a whole burnt offering to the Lord your God. That town's to remain a ruin forever, never to be rebuilt. And none of the condemned things are to be found in your hands. That sounds like, your mother or your father talking to you. Don't let it be found in your hands. This is a parent, okay? And he's going to leave that ruin there so people remember. I mean, he is not fooling around. Then the Lord will turn from his fierce anger, will show you mercy, and will have compassion on you. He'll increase your numbers as he promised on oath to your ancestors, because you obey the Lord your God by keeping all his commands that I'm giving you today and doing what's right in his eyes. Deuteronomy 14. You are the children of the Lord your God. Don't cut yourselves or shave the front of your heads for the dead. Apparently they used to do that. Perhaps pagans did it. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God, out of all the peoples on the face of the earth. Now he keeps impressing this on us. Out of all the peoples on the face of the earth, the Lord has chosen you to be his treasured possession. My mother used to tell me, if the Lord wants you, you can run, but you cannot hide. And I'm telling you, I have remembered that my whole life. My mother told me a lot of wonderful things. I mean, she put the right stuff in me. She just had mental problems or whatever, emotional problems. But, and I love her. I can't be in her life, but, I love her. I respect her. I empathize with her problems, as I've suffered from depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. I get it. And as you get older and you raise your own kids, you start to be a lot more forgiving and humble towards your parents. Absolutely. But she did a great job raising me. She put some really good stuff in me. And she used to tell me, if the Lord wants you, you can run, but you cannot hide. In other words, he's going to have his way. The Holy Spirit may be a gentleman. That's what we always say. He will not force you. Jesus won't force you. The Lord won't force you, but the Lord will cause it to happen that you will end up serving him if he wants you, okay? Just remember that, all right? Because I'm telling you that now. The Lord has chosen you to be his treasured possession. Don't eat any detestable things. These are the animals you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roe deer, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. You may eat any animal that has a divided hoof and that chews the cud. However, of those that chew the cud or that have a divided hoof, you may not eat the camel, the rabbit, or the hyrax. And we've looked up hyrax before, and I think the hyrax is the thing that's the closest relative to an elephant, amazingly enough. It's like a squat rodent that looks like a woodchuck. Maybe it is a woodchuck. It isn't. Okay. Although they chew the cud, they don't have a divided hoof. They are ceremonially unclean for you. The pig is also unclean. Although it has a divided hoof, it doesn't chew the cud. You're not to eat their meat or touch their carcasses. Now remember, this is then, okay? Remember, Peter saw every kind of food on a blanket, a white sheet coming down to him on that roof in a vision, and the Lord said, take and eat, okay? Anything the Lord says is clean or is okay, and the Lord has opened it all up for us. We can eat whatever we want now, okay? But this is how it was with the Jews in the face of all the surrounding pagan tribes and nations, okay? You may eat any clean bird, but these you may not eat: the eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, the black kite, any kind of falcon, any kind of raven. Ravens are quite useful to the Lord, as we'll see in the days of Elijah. Okay, ravens are very intelligent for birds, and they do all kinds of amazing things. Okay, and for us, the horned owl, these are the things you can't eat: the raven, any kind of raven, the horned owl, the screech owl, the gull, any kind of hawk, the little owl, the great owl, the white owl, the desert owl, the osprey, the cormorant, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoopoe, and the bat. Bats are in there with all of the birds, okay? Hoopoe is, I'll put a picture of it up on my site. It looks like a woodpecker, but it's not. It's very brightly colored. All flying insects are unclean to you. Don't eat them. But any winged creature that is clean you may eat. Okay, so we're not going to be eating flies. Okay. But I know we can eat grasshoppers. Okay. Don't eat anything you find already dead. So no roadkill, nothing like that. I'm talking to us now. You may give it to the foreigner residing in any of your towns, and they may eat it, or you may sell it to any other foreigner, but you are a people holy to the Lord your God. Don't cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Yuck. Be sure to set aside 1/10 of all that your fields produce each year. Eat the tithe of your grain, your new wine and olive oil, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks in the presence of the Lord your God at the place he will choose as a dwelling for his name. Capital N. So no sacrificing in the fields, okay? So that you may learn to revere the Lord your God always. But if that place is too distant and you've been blessed by the Lord your God and can't carry your tithe, because the place where the Lord will choose to put his name is so far away, then exchange your tithe for silver and take the silver with you and go to the place the Lord your God will choose. Use the silver to buy whatever you like: cattle, sheep, wine, or other fermented drink, or anything you wish. Then you and your household shall eat there in the presence of the Lord your God and rejoice. So if you have an ox or a lamb or a goat and it's just too far to get there, sell it for silver and then go into the town and spend the money there. And do not neglect the Levites living in your towns, for they have no allotment or inheritance of their own. So make sure you're tithing, because they get the tithes. That's their pay, okay? They take a tithe out of it and honor the Lord, but the rest of it is theirs. That's how they're paid. That's how the Lord takes care of them. At the end of every 3 years, bring all the tithes of that year's produce and store it in your towns, so that the Levites who have no allotment or inheritance of their own, and the foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns may come and eat and be satisfied, and so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. So I was just reading, it says here, the precise identification of some of the birds and animals in this chapter is uncertain. Okay. We can look up hoopoe, though. It's spelled Hoopoo. So you notice it says every 3 years you tithe. You give 10% of that. You bring all the tithes of that year's produce and store it in your towns. At the end of every 3 years, bring all the tithes of that year's produce and store it in your towns, so that the Levites will have something: foreigners, orphans, and widows. So women without a husband, children without fathers, isn't that amazing? A year's worth of tithes from every Israelite put in storage so that everybody can be fed. And this is what it means when at certain places in the Old Testament it says, I've never seen the Lord's people begging bread, because they took care of their own, okay? So that the fatherless and the widows who live in your towns may come and eat and be satisfied, and so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. Deuteronomy 15. At the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is how it's to be done. Every creditor shall cancel any loan they've made to a fellow Israelite. They shall not require payment from anyone among their own people, because the Lord's time for canceling debts has been proclaimed. You may require payment from a foreigner, but you must cancel any debt your fellow Israelite owes you. So he's really delineating here between Israelites and everybody else. They're to be good to the foreigners among them and share with them, etc. But when it comes to the brotherhood of the Jews, there's a separation, okay? You may require payment from a foreigner, but you must cancel any debt your fellow Israelite owes you. However, there need be no poor people among you. For in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you. If only you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands I'm giving you today. For the Lord your God will bless you as he's promised, and you will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. You will rule over many nations, but none will rule over you. If anyone is poor among your fellow Israelites in any of the towns of the land the Lord your God's giving you, don't be hard-hearted or tight-fisted towards them. Rather, be open-handed and freely lend them whatever they need. Be careful not to harbor this wicked thought, quote, the 7th year, the year for canceling debts is near, end quote, so that you don't show ill will towards the needy among your fellow Israelites and give them nothing. Okay, so I guess you'd be saying, I don't want to loan anything to them because I get it. Okay, so it's like next month all the debts are going to be canceled because it's the beginning of the 7th year. So I'm not going to loan anything to anybody because I'll never get it back, because before they can give it back to me, the year of canceling debts is going to start. So he's saying, don't think that wicked thought. Don't ever harbor that thought. So you don't show ill will towards the needy among your fellow Israelites and give them nothing. In other words, just give. Err on the side of giving. They may then appeal to the Lord against you, and you'll be found guilty of sin. Give generously to them, and do so without a grudging heart. Then because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore, I command you to be open-handed towards your fellow Israelites who are poor and needy in your land. Even Jesus said the poor will always be among you. So let's take care of them. You know, what's it going to kill us to give a hand to somebody, okay? But it could kill us spiritually to not. And certainly, if any of your people, Hebrew men or women, sell themselves to you and serve you 6 years, in the 7th year you must let them go free. And when you release them, don't send them away empty-handed. Supply them liberally from your flock, your threshing floor, and your winepress. Give to them as the Lord your God's blessed you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt and the Lord your God redeemed you. That's why I give you this command today. But if your servant says to you, I don't want to leave you, because he loves you and your family and is well off with you, then take an awl, push it through his earlobe into the door, so pierce his ear, and he'll become your servant for life. Do the same for your female servant. Don't consider it a hardship to set your servant free, because their service to you these 6 years has been worth twice as much as that of a hired hand. And the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. Set apart for the Lord your God every firstborn male of your herds and flocks. Don't put the firstborn of your cows to work, and don't shear the firstborn of your sheep. Each year you and your family are to eat them in the presence of the Lord your God at the place he will choose. If an animal has a defect, is lame or blind, or has any serious flaw, you must not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. You're to eat it in your own towns. Both the ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat it as if it were gazelle or deer. But you must not eat the blood. Pour it out on the ground like water. And what do we do with our livestock? We hang them upside down and we drain the blood. Okay? All right, last chapter for the night, Deuteronomy 16. Observe the month of Aviv, A-V-I-V, and celebrate the Passover of the Lord your God, because in the month of Aviv he brought you out of Egypt by night. Sacrifice as the Passover to the Lord your God an animal from your flock or herd at the place the Lord will choose as a dwelling for his name, capital N. Don't eat it with bread made with yeast, but for 7 days eat unleavened bread, the bread of affliction, because you left Egypt in haste, so that all the days of your life you may remember the time of your departure from Egypt. Let no yeast be found in your possession in all your land for 7 days. Don't let any of the meat you sacrifice on the evening of the first day remain until morning. You must not sacrifice the Passover in any town the Lord your God gives you, except in the place he'll choose as a dwelling for his name, capital N. There you must sacrifice the Passover in the evening when the sun goes down on the anniversary of your departures from Egypt. Roast it and eat it at the place the Lord your God will choose. Then in the morning return to your tents. For 6 days eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day hold an assembly to the Lord your God and do no work. Count off 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the standing grain. Then celebrate the festival of weeks to the Lord your God by giving a free will offering in proportion to the blessings the Lord your God has given you. So it's a festival of weeks, W-E-E-K-S. You count off 7 weeks, then you have a festival and you freely give a nice offering in proportion to how the Lord's blessed you. And rejoice before the Lord your God at the place he'll choose as a dwelling for his name, capital N. You, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, the Levites in your towns and the foreigners, the fatherless and the widows living among you, remember that you were slaves in Egypt and follow carefully these decrees so people don't forget where you came from. If you came out of drugs and alcohol or something else equally horrible, don't forget, okay? Celebrate. This is a celebration of being taken out of slavery, okay? Celebrate the Festival of Tabernacles. This is the one I like, where they make a little house for themselves, for each family. For 7 days after you've gathered the produce of your threshing floor and your winepress. Be joyful at your festival, you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levites, the foreigners, and the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns. For 7 days, celebrate the festival to the Lord your God at the place the Lord will choose. For the Lord your God will bless you in all your harvest and in all the work of your hands, and your joy will be complete. 3 times a year, all your men must appear before the Lord your God at the place he will choose at the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of weeks, and the festival of tabernacles. No one should appear before the Lord empty-handed. Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord your God has blessed you. Appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes in every town the Lord your God is giving you, and they shall judge the people fairly. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Don't accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the innocent. Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land the Lord your God is giving you. Do not set up any wooden Asherah poles. Now, Asherah poles were tree trunks or carvings that they set up so that they would be fertile. They are what the tribes around them were doing. They were fertility gods, okay? Do not set up any wooden Asherah poles, and Asherah is spelled A-S-H-E-R-A-H, beside the altar you build to the Lord your God. And don't erect a sacred stone, for these the Lord your God hates. And in looking up Asherah poles, I remember there were piles of stones, like towers of stone too. So this is what he's talking about. Don't erect a sacred stone. I love you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll pick it up at Deuteronomy 16. I believe there are 29 or 30 chapters here, so we're coming up to halfway through, or we are halfway through. We'll start at 16 for the second half of Deuteronomy. Don't forget to pray, and you have a wonderful evening. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.